Take Mullins. There you are. You can show your piece.
Okay.
Oh, and the water soon. And I'm a liquid control.
Okay. Great.
And then Bethany. Bethany is from Jefferson Elementary, and what grade are you in? Fifth grade. Fantastic.
Great.
Anna Schuart is going to be our second to last one, and she's from St. Vincent de Paul. And then Alma Schroeder, we have Kate Smith with our last piece. What grade are you in? Fifth grade.
Great.
Fantastic. Are there any parents?
I think we have some probably proud and dedicated parents. Siblings here also. So we pleased that you are here with us. And I'm thankful that your students and your children are going to grace our walls here for the next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, you guys want to come over? Let's go stand over here. Actually, let's sit down right here.
And face me and show me your art. Sit down. There we go. Big smiles. Young artists and council over here, please, real quick. Thank you.
Stay in place. They're not done yet. Thank you, parents and kids, and very well, thank you. Look forward to this whole year. And again, congratulations on your so.
Oh, thank you very much.
September 2nd, 4:30. Friday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do your picture on cityofcape.org and social media, Facebook. Okay, another presentation is the 2016 Tech Test Civic Hackathon demonstration. And we need to find out what Tech Test Hackathon means.
Yes.
Brian Holden.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm Brian Holdman with Codify. And about 3 weeks ago, we had our first annual Tech Week, which was a celebration of tech and showcasing of tech in this area. And one of the events that we had was the hackathon. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what a hackathon is, they're typically a 48-hour period where software developers come together to solve a problem that's presented to them. And typically the way it works is the developers form teams, they show up to the event, usually on maybe a Friday evening, and the problem is presented to them right then. They don't know what's happening, what the problem is. And so then they have typically 48 hours to come up with a viable solution to that problem. And usually a lot of the teams work 48 hours nonstop. Not much sleeping happens at a hackathon. So we decided, and these hackathons happen in, around different categories, different markets. Some are civic, there's healthcare related hackathons, lots of different types of problems. And we decided to focus on the civic aspect for our hackathon because we felt like it would have the broadest impact on the community. So we worked with the city and they presented us with some problems that we kind of narrowed down to what we felt would fit in that time period well. And we ended up having 3 teams that worked for, I think the winning team said that they had a total of around 75 or so man hours in the project over the weekend. And one thing this really shows is although these, it's not what you're going to see is not a final. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Can you say that number again?
They had about 75 hours total man hours in this 48-hour period, and what they created isn't a final product, but it's a pretty good looking working product that with a little more work could be a really good solution to the problem. So I'd like to introduce Stephen Myers and then Joe Edgar, and they had another member of their team that was Zach Young, which he's competing in a triathlon out in California right now, so he couldn't make it. But they had the solution they came up with was called Cape Rentals, and it solved the problem of tenants finding landlords and rental properties in the area. And I think they're going to demonstrate it for you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Council and Mayor and Brian. Thanks for the introduction.
Yep.
Like you said, we spent a weekend working on a relatively simple product to solve a problem that that people in Cape face pretty often, which is finding rental properties. So what we built was a very much modern Web 2.0 solution to that problem. It uses complex filtering, images, maps, and it tries to provide as much information as possible to a new user or to somebody looking to rent a property. What we built is what you're seeing on the screen right now, which, like you said, we spend approximately 75 man hours working on over the course of approximately 2 days. The application filters to multiple different houses. You can search by where it is, what kind of amenities it has, all the way down to what kind of home you are looking for. It'll filter real time. You can check what prices you're willing to pay per month. And when you find something that looks intriguing, you can click on it and see all the details about that property. What we've envisioned for this was just a proof of concept for the weekend, but really a place where Cape Girardeau's renters could come, sign a lease, pay for their rental. Landlords could get paid quicker. They could file reviews, file complaints, interact with their landlord directly without having to stick a check under a doorstep. So that's the kind of product we built and the vision we had for it. And like I said, that was about a weekend worth of work.
Mayor and Council, as one of the judges of the hackathon, we were very, very excited about the application that Stephen and Joe and his team came up with. And we think that there's a lot of opportunities here, working with the Landlord Association and with inspection staff to develop this application even further, using our landlord database and our inspection information to build a very robust database that's something that could really benefit the entire community. So we appreciate the time that they put into it. We think it is a very worthwhile application that certainly has some merit and future to it.
And we're really looking forward to having that opportunity to work with you all.
So, cost and country to fix this product?
Well, those are some of the discussions that we had after the fact about how something like this might be funded. Could be possibly advertising opportunities on the website. Landlords could possibly pay a fee for an administration of the site. So that's some of the feedback I think that would be helpful to get from the Landlord Association. So perhaps we could work with Kayla and organize a demonstration for the landlord community and find out how this site would be most useful for the landlord community. So we could really develop it into something that the landlords could benefit from, and maybe do some focus group with renters in the community and make it something that everyone can benefit from and make it sustainable.
So a couple of years ago, Dave Soto had developed something very similar. Are you guys familiar with what he had developed or any of the challenges he had in getting it to market, and then ultimately it was shut down?
No, we're not, and I'm sorry that we were not prepared with that information. No, like I said, we represented this problem from the city,
Okay.
and based on that, we developed what we thought was a step in the direction of a solution. And so we'd love to get the feedback from what he experienced and try to take that into consideration when building a product, whether that's working with the city or whatever capacity this turns into. So.
Okay. And then I'm curious from staff why the city would feel that this should be a public service versus being fulfilled by the private sector.
I think that there's
Traditionally,
a
it is.
public-private partnership opportunity here where we provided the database as a place for them to start, the landlord database, so they could match landlords with their properties. And really, we let them take it where they saw the most viability and opportunity for the rental community. So that's really, though, we'd like to continue the dialogue with the landlords and the renters in the community and make it something that we can all benefit from.
So is this website going to filter through the available properties already, like different websites?
Ideally,
Already up and like, for instance, Jason Coulter has a website, I think it's up, it doesn't, and it would filter, does it automatically filter that his rentals are as well, or is this something that you have to advertise with us to get your?
the initial thought was, and what the product that we worked off of was the licensed list of landlords through the city, and partnering with the city to get that list of information, and then having the landlords come add additional information directly to the site. That was the model we were working off of. That does not obviously mean that it has to be the end result. Like I said, this is strictly a proof of concept designed to see what could get done in a short time frame, and then where we could eventually go with this.
I do like the idea of, like how Google, if I type in rental in Cape Girardeau, it would be, I could see the benefit of having this, but also incorporating all of the other rentals. Like some of these travel companies will pull the information from all the websites. So I could see where this could be beneficial if it pulled from all of the rental companies and paid and uploaded their rentals onto one site.
And I don't see any reason why there's not potential for that. So it's, like I said, it's absolutely a dialogue.
Other questions? Your questions, Jason?
I have a couple questions if you don't mind.
I would absolutely love to take them as long as the council has time for it.
I guess I just kind of stumbled onto this tonight, so haven't completely gathered my thoughts. I guess my question for the council or for the city is, for 3 years we've been trying to get Jason Coulter, Vice President of the Landlord Association. We've been trying to get a database where if you look up Soto property management, it would pull every address that Soto manages, so that communication between law enforcement, city inspections, nuisance and abatement, it stops I got a phone call this morning that said, do you know who owns this property at this address?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get as many as I used to, because I think some of that has been vetted a little bit, but so I guess my question is, for 3 years we haven't been able to get it. Do we have that now?
We have the database.
Like, do you guys have the database where you can pull up my name and know what properties I own?
Yes. We have that information
Really?
Provided by the city. As long as that information from the city is accurate, which I believe it is, yes, we have that
It's
information.
not the complete database that we requested.
Okay. Fine.
We have names and addresses is what we have. That's
Names and addresses, which
strictly
is what, okay. So, we were going to pay $4,000 to get it, but, so I guess my next question is, I just want to make sure if we did, this was done years ago by Soto and Jennifer Hendrickson. The reason it did not go over well, I believe, is landlords had to pay per unit to get their available units turned on. Majority of the property owners in Cape, I would say, as far as landlords, are not, I don't want to say they're not computer savvy, but they're not a turn on, turn off, upload your photos, go take pictures of your house, and all that type of stuff that may be more, larger communities have. And I think some of them viewed it as, if we already have our own site, there's some redundancy. I think my only concern for the council would be, how do you vet property owners that you want on there and ones that you potentially wouldn't, based on our ability to enforce, our lack of ability to enforce people who are non-compliant. And if you just put anybody that had a landlord license, there are some people that have those licenses right now that, if something bad happened in a house, and if they found it via a city website, it might open, I don't know, I'm not an attorney, but it might open the city up for some ugliness where, a tenant potentially tries to sue because, well, I found it on the city public site that, that it was available in case you're off the rent. So it's more probably some of those questions that I think that probably need to be thought through, because it looks like you mixed a public information site, which I'm in full support of. Mm-hmm. Who owns what? I would love to see any person in Cape Girardeau be able to look up, especially a homeowner that lives next door to a rental. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know who owns this house next to me, because I just see a real estate sign in front of it, or I just see a for rent sign with a cell number. I think that's very important for us to have access to who owns property around us. Communication's key.
I think we're kind of at the beginning here. We've got 48 hours, 72 hour, man hour, and we're at the beginning. We're not at the end. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think we'd love to continue the discussion with the landlord association and the city and see if we can work something out that everybody can agree on. Absolutely. Thank you all.
Yeah. I guess my question now is, you had labor winter. Did we get information on what about the 2 other projects?
There were, yeah, so we have the budget information for those teams. Each team had, there was actually another rental application similar to this team, that there were some concepts from that team that we liked as well, so we thought perhaps they might be
I
together.
completely forgot to mention it, I'm sorry. We actually already started working with the other entrant that, it was our competition. Yeah, we already started. He's already joined our team and is participating with us. So.
And then the other one was.
And then there was another one about the volunteer matchmaking application that we definitely think there's merit in that one too. And we will work with that team to put in contact with people in the community that might help develop that application.
There is value in all three. The contest is valuable.
Absolutely. We're already working on our problem list for next.
Yes.
But we're not seeing this as a city service. We're seeing this as the city enabling this to be possible to the private sector, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, just to agree with Joe's point earlier that this isn't something the city's going to do. It's something that we can help make happen through what private endeavor is going to make happen.
But they may use public information that we have.
Well, yeah, sure.
That's available to anybody.
Right, absolutely.
In order to help enhance their product. So that's a good thing.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I just, for years, we've had a rental guide at the chain. And it's strictly voluntary participation. We got to go on the website and print out hard copies of the artists. It is one of the most requested things. It is a pitiful representation of what people get. So I would love to see something like this developed that includes all of the people with landlord licenses in the city of Cape. And whether it's private or public, I think that's for the discussion. But what's out there right now is terrible compared to, obviously, larger municipalities.
But I think in the past it was what you could do.
And that's all we're doing. We're doing what we can do. And that's why it would be, I think it would be great for this.
I think it's important though, John, to recognize that, number one, the exact same product was developed already that Jason and I referred to, which is what Dave Soto and Jennifer Hendrickson developed. Secondly, I think it's important to recognize that some landlords in Cape Girardeau spend thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing already, and you can find their properties just fine, quite easily. It's the people who refuse to spend any money on marketing whose properties you can't find. And so I guess the philosophical question is it our responsibility as a city government to help them find their customers? So I don't think it is, but that's because we don't do that in other industries. You know, so like you market the city of Cape as the CEO of the chamber, but that's totally different than what we're talking about here.
And that it is a city-only sponsored and paid for site, what you just say with the government. It's a public-private partnership, and the information is clean, and something you guys have access to. That's good.
And I think from our perspective too, we were thinking of it as opposite. Instead of finding customers for landlords, we were looking at helping renters find places to live.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and so, I mean.
And because the model didn't work 3 years ago, it doesn't mean a different model wouldn't work today.
Right, and I'll bet that part of it was because the costs have changed of doing what you guys did. I'll bet that you guys did in 72 hours, and by no means, I don't speak for them, but the people involved, I think, didn't have the skill set that you guys did. So they saw the need, like what Molly saw, and they hired somebody to do it, and it probably cost $50,000 in what you guys did in 72 hours. So I guess my point is, you know, if we want to go the route that is customary, it would be similar to what the route that has been tried before. So we really need to glean as much information from those guys to figure out why it didn't work.
And I think if you use it as a public information tool and you just remove the rental component out of it, it just became a who owns this address and how do you find them? I think you have a winning deal on that. Take the revenue side out of it.
I think there's a whole lot of things
You
to
understand?
explore. I mean, you have, you know, the university has talked to us before about, you know, they're interested in hooking up students with that. They don't know what their role is. You know, they struggle with that, same way you do. And then they're wanting to try to understand that. And we talked to them about educating the students, most of them first time forever, dealing with utilities, dealing with problems, dealing with anything, helping them educate their students better, and they want to do that. And so I think there's a lot of other partners. I think we bring them all to the table, we can talk about it. I think there's a lot of pieces that I'm sure we're missing that may well, to be able to fund the whole thing. I certainly don't think it's our goal to refine the business for people, but I do think that some of the public information, if we can share that, the university shares their information, and all come together with a product. Maybe self-sufficient. We'll find out. I guess that's the next step. Absolutely.
More to come. Thank you for facilitating this. Great event. Very well, thanks. A lot of good things in and out of this one. Partnerships, a lot of involvement, and much more massaging and visiting to run this corporation. Thank you for that. Okay. Communications and reports. Number one, I would like to, okay, all right. We're getting in just a minute. I would call attention to the council, a memo that is in our packet this week, or this meeting on policy on open meetings and records. We talked about a little bit of the study session. This is reviewed, necessarily reviewed. every 2 years. And it was reviewed again at this time, it was reviewed again, and in the memo at the bottom, the current policy complies with current laws, and no recommendations to amend any policy with regards to our open meetings and elections. Just for your attention, this is part of the package for this. Now I see you then back. We had a 60-hour event last week, first of its kind and last of its kind. Moving railroad tracks. Can't move mountains, but we can move railroad tracks. And Dan Pollock from Public Works was involved with that. And it was quite a sight and quite an accomplishment to bring that to a conclusion. Still some cleanup, but to a conclusion in order to one more step to bring our wall into compliance with a code. So, not knowing what I'm talking about, I'd like to have Stan come up front and address what went on in 60 hours and what it means to our city.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, we, as part of the overall broad context that the Corps of Engineers in the city have partnered on for the last 10 years, a lot of work's been done on the flood wall. The part that was done last week was one of the more challenging parts, which is why it's been so late in the program. But we needed to replace, as the overall project, all of the tow drain along the length of the flood wall has been replaced. Last week, we got the last 600 feet of that done. That is important, not that it is involved in surface water drainage. It's not. Surface water isn't supposed to get into this pipe.
Talk about tow drain.
A lot of misunderstanding about what this serves, the function it serves. When the river is above flood stage, and particularly well above flood stage, there is a desire, if you will, for the water to try and undercut the flood wall. And there are elements built into the wall to try and prevent that, but it doesn't always work. Every element isn't successful. The tow drain, if that water tries to go under and come up on the land side, if it's left to its own power, it will create what's called a sand boil and just boil up. And now the river water is starting to come in on our side, the land side of the wall. Obviously not a good thing. This perforated pipe is right at the toe of the wall and relieves that water pressure if the water were to come under, excuse me, before it would boil up through the surface. This pipe can capture it, convey that water through the drainage system back to the pump system and back out into the river and avoid the sand boil and the release of that water to the surface. So it's a critical element of the overall function of the wall. Thankfully, even in our January event, we haven't observed or realized that event to happen, but we don't want that to happen. So it was important that we get this last section of tow drain replaced to make sure we've got all the protection elements in place and functioning properly. The old one had been in since the original construction. It was old metal pipe. It was deteriorated. There was a lot of debris trapped in it, so it would not have functioned well at all had it needed to. We are thankful that it didn't need to. But now we've got a brand new stainless steel casing in there, and it's a very nice layout, and we're confident that it's going to perform well for many decades. So the project was to do that. The complication was when the wall got built and the rail line got built, this section of tow drain pipe was literally underneath the edge of the cross ties on the railroad. So we couldn't get to it without digging up the railroad. So we had to coordinate with them to actually reposition the rails, moved them over 7 feet in this section in order that we could get to the tow drain. And 60 years from now, if somebody needs to do more maintenance work, they can get to that tow drain without having to fight the railroad track. So hopefully we're positioned well for the next number of decades for future maintenance if it's needed, and won't have to fight with the railroad to get that done. There's room for everybody now to do their work. And we ended up moving, there was 600 feet of pipeline that was the centerpiece of this. However, because of the curvature of the rails through that part of town, they actually had to take up 1,800 feet of rail, which was basically from the Broadway gate to the casino. And y'all weren't there, but it was pretty neat. There were a number of things that were pretty impressive. The railroad's got some of the coolest equipment on the planet. But they actually took everything loose so that 800 feet of piece of steel is just sitting on the cross ties loose. They picked it up and moved it as one piece, 40 tons of steel, and they just drug it down with one of their pieces of machinery. It was amazing. Took them 9 minutes to move it out of the way. Yeah, the whole thing. Went back and got the other one, 9 minutes, it was out of the way. Impressive. At any rate, a tremendous project, a collaboration of work with the Corps of Engineers and partnering with us, the railroad, city staff, private property owners in that area. Just a great collaboration of a number of people to pull off a very unusual and challenging project that will serve the city of Cape well for the next number of decades. And I am excited that I got to be part of it, and I pray to Jesus I don't have to be part of it again.
Family, thank you for your leadership in this event. Appreciate all the information.
Thank you very much.
And council, we did have a time lapse film of this, and at future council, we're going to be in.
I hope to get that later this week, first part of next week, and we'll make sure everybody gets to see that.
60 hours in a couple minutes.
Well, it was actually 72, and we got the whole thing. It took a little longer than it should take. About 5 minutes, he says, to run through the whole thing. So as soon as I have that, I'll make sure it gets to Nicolette and everybody, so we'll have that. Thank you very much.
Participated and attended my Rotary Club, Cape West Rotary's 50th anniversary celebration. I've been a member of that club for now 40 years. And everything that we've accomplished as a club for the betterment of our community over the years is amazing. And as in the next day or two after that event, in fact, it's part of that is my mayor's comments that are going to be in the paper, but I started to realize that all of our service clubs in our city really do the same thing and are such a vital and important part of our community, our city, serving our citizens, and really the backbone, what I call the backbone of our city on the volunteer side, and do so much. All kinds of credit and thanks. I want to recognize all of our service clubs for all the work they do and will continue to do for our city. Other communications.
So Cape Girardeau continues to win awards for its downtown. Last month's Missouri Main Street Connection Award ceremony, the Premier Partner Award winner was Southeast Missouri State University, which is obviously a great member of the community. But also Steve Hoffman, a longtime Old Town Cape leader, won a leadership award. Uptown Jackson, our neighbor, won an outstanding marketing award, and Codify won an economic project impact award. So some great recognitions within our community. Cape continues to lead the way in downtown revitalization, and we have Marlon Mills with Old Town Cape here to recognize for this as well. So great awards for our community.
Kudos. Well, very much. Other communications?
I'd like to mention that I attended the Support the Blue event. It was at Cape County North Park at the big flagpole next to the police memorial that commemorates the loss of, so far and hopefully never again, 49 police officers who have lost their lives on duty in Southeast Missouri. But there was quite a bit of attendance there, And the most touching thing was reported in the news, and I was standing there witnessing it. I didn't know what she was doing, but there was I think, 10-year-old girl, and she had these little handwritten notes in her hand, and she was going around to all the uniformed officers and handing them one. And then later they mentioned that this was a personal handwritten thank you for doing their jobs and staying safe. And that was quite touching to them and everybody present. But I mean, it was a good event supporting our officers. And I'm glad it's indicative of the way our community appears to feel. And I hope we can continue with that sort of thing. SALT, Seniors and Lawmen Together, has a Senior Information Day on September the 8th. It's at the Eagles Club. Starts at 9 a.m. And there's been quite a bit of publicity put out about it. There's a free lunch to the first 300 seniors who register. So they get a free meal. And there are going to be, at this point, there's 32 providers who are going to have booths pertaining to seniors in our community and how they help them. It's nonprofits setting up informational booths for their clients and for seniors who may not be aware that they have these services. Also, there's going to be 3 presenters. One's going to talk about aging matters. The second one's going to talk about Medicare issues. And the third one, which is usually the most popular, and it's titled, I Am Smarter Than a Scam Artist, because seniors are typically the targets of scam artists. So there'll be a provider telling them how to recognize that and how to defend themselves against it. So I would encourage anybody who has a senior who can attend on September the 8th at the Eagles, that this will be a good thing for them. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I've got a couple items, Mayor. Being a new council member, I wanted to get involved and be able to understand and dig down into the weeds a little bit with the different departments with the city. And through Scott's help, I was able to have my first meeting with Steve Cook this last week, and Molly was there. And boy, talk about an eye-opener. You know, we have turnover because we train our city employees so well that they can go other places, and that's an issue. And then when weather hits, and so all these issues that Steve, you know, and the good and the bad. And it was I really enjoyed that meeting, Steve, and I wanted to personally thank you. And I know Stan, and let me see if I can remember everybody: Beasley, Todd Fulton, Tripp, Griffith. Who else I miss? I guess I got pretty much most of them. So I really got a lot out of that, and was just amazed. You know, growing up in Cape Girardeau, seeing where we've come from 4 guys on a trash truck, and now see where we're at, and then leaf pickup and everything, and he's been here since 1977. So I just wanted to, I really enjoyed that, and I wanted to thank him personally. Also, near and dear to my heart, the Cape Girardeau JC's, the 24th annual Cape Barbecue Fest is this weekend. And for the 3rd year in a row, we've got over 50 teams and 60 judges from 6 states coming in. And we give out $10,000 to the teams. And then hopefully this weekend we'll raise about $20,000 for toys for kids within Cape Girardeau city limits. So wanted to make a mention about that.
Another service club.
Another service club.
Great. Very good. Anyone else? Scott? Okay. We have no public hearings this evening. Anyone here to appear before the council on any item that is on the agenda? Okay. Greg, take us through the consent agenda, please.
Bill 16-127, an ordinance updating and readopting sections 276 and 283 of the city code relating to conflicts of interest. Bill 16-127, an ordinance updating and readopting sections 276 and 283 of the city code relating to conflicts of interest. Bill 16-182, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed to DI Hotels Sun LLC, property formerly known as Vantage Drive along the east side of Interstate 55 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-128, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed to DI Hotels Sun LLC, property formerly known as Vantage Drive along the east side of Interstate 55 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-131, an ordinance approving the record plat of OTC First Subdivision. Bill 16-131, an ordinance approving the record plat of OTC First Subdivision. Bill 16-133, an ordinance establishing an indoor sports complex fund and appropriating expenditures for the initial operation of the indoor sports complex for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-133, an ordinance establishing an indoor sports complex fund and appropriating expenditures for the initial operation of the indoor sports complex for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-134, an ordinance appropriating expenditures related to the purchase and licensing of the 3 drones and related training for the Casino Revenue Fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-134, an ordinance appropriating expenditures related to the purchase and licensing of 3 drones and related training from the Casino Revenue Fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-135, an ordinance appropriating expenditures related to the city's fiscal commitment to the retail market study being conducted by Magnet from unallocated revenues of the Casino Revenue Fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-135, an ordinance appropriating expenditures related to the city's financial commitment to a retail market study being conducted by Magnet from unallocated revenues of the Casino Revenue Fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-137, an ordinance amending Chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri by changing the zoning of property located at 338 Broadway in the city and county of Cape Girardeau, Missouri from RUMD to CBD and Downtown Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Bill 16-137, an ordinance amending Chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri by changing the zoning of property located at 338 Broadway in the City and County of Cape Girardeau, Missouri from RUMD to CBD and Downtown Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Bill 16-138, an ordinance amending Chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri by changing the zoning of property located at 400 Broadway and 221 North Fountain Street in the City and County of Cape Girardeau, Missouri from CBD and RUMD to CBD and Downtown Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Bill 16-138, an ordinance amending Chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri by changing the zoning of property located at 400 Broadway and 221 North Fountain Street in the City and County of Cape Girardeau, Missouri from CBD and RUMD to CBD and Downtown Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Bill 16-139, an ordinance appropriating funds for capital expenditures for park improvement projects in the City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-139, an ordinance appropriating funds for capital expenditures park improvement projects in the City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-141, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Lap Cement Finishing, Inc. for the Bloomfield Road Phase 5 project in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-142, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a license and indemnity agreement with Old Town Cape, Inc. for light pole decorations in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-143, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a license and indemnity agreement with Nicholas C. Pappas Revocable Trust of 1998 for installation of a lighted sign adjacent to 1936 Broadway in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-144, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to a development agreement with Mid-America Hotels Corporation related to the property donation for the indoor sports complex in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Bill 16-145, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Tom Busick Excavating, Inc. for the construction of a driveway crossing the Greater Cape Girardeau Business Park Phase 2, Lot 2. Bill 16-146, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Robertson Contractors, Inc. for the South Sprague Street Road Restoration over Cape LaCroix Creek project. Bill 16-148, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a license and indemnity agreement with Project Leadership Academy for the installation of a temporary sign adjacent to 824 Lexington in the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Council, you've heard the consent agenda. I do have a motion for approval. Move to accept. Second. Second by, discussion.
Mayor, I have one question. It was on number 7. A couple weeks ago, is John there still?
I am.
Did you you went today, remember, I guess you were supposed to ask the county if they were gonna partner with us on this. Did you find out about that?
I went today and I asked them to partner, and they took it under advisement this morning and have not taken action.
Okay. All right, so thank you for doing it.
You're more than welcome.
Any other questions on the consent agenda?
I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting because of military duty, but I did want to express my support for items 6 and 10 relating to Parks and Rec. On item 6, I want to point out how forward-looking it is of the city to build in operational expenses to a new project so that we will not immediately have out of a regular budget the obligation to support that activity. And I also was pleased with tonight's discussion of stormwater relating to Parks, Recreation, and Stormwater, that I think we're on a better trajectory to deal with all 3 components of PRS. And I do believe that the items passed the first reading at the last meeting and up for second and third on item 10 are the highest priority ones for the city. So I'm in support. I wanted to make sure that was clear, again, because I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Council, we have one item removed from the consent agenda. That was bill number 16-132, an ordinance providing for the levying of city revenue tax, public health tax, special business district number 2 tax for the fiscal year ending on the 30th day of June 2017. Bill number 16-132, an ordinance providing for the levying of the annual city revenue tax, public health tax, special business district number 2 tax for the fiscal year ending on the 30th day of June 2017. I'd like to have a motion. So moved by Gunn. Second. Second by Gar. Now, the reason it was removed, council, is those figures had minor adjustments as we came to the end of the fiscal year, so there are minor dollar adjustments in that. So I would need a motion to amend that as amended by staff to be complete. Amend by Gunn. Second. And seconded by Fox. Any discussion? Put the end to our fiscal year, right?
Well, this is tax rates for the upcoming year.
Yeah. Any discussion? Those in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And now those in favor of the as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, thank you. Only 2 new ordinances, council. Number 21, bill number 16-140, an ordinance amending Schedule C of section 26-121 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri by establishing stop signs at various locations. First reading. Motion, please. So moved by Fox and seconded by Bowman. Discussion?
Here, I'd like to make a motion to amend, I'd like to make a motion to amend the Derbyshire Lane and Abbey Road to a yield sign instead of a stop sign? Or do I need to extract it?
Actually, we need to remove it.
All right, I'd make a motion to amend to remove the Derbyshire Lane and Abbey Road from this.
Very good. Second. And seconded by Bowman. That'll come back to us at the next meeting under a different section that will satisfy both council and constituents. So those in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And now those in favor of the bill at first reading as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And number 22, bill number 16-149, an ordinance amending chapter 25 of the Code of Ordinance, City of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, regarding retaining walls, landscaping, buffer yards, and screening. First reading. Moved by Fox, second, and seconded by Bowman. Any discussion? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? There have no appointments this evening, council. Is there any other business come before us? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Gunn.
Second.
Second by Darrell. Still gonna get that. Favor aye? Aye. Opposed?